Hello and welcome to This Week in Property. I'm your host, Richard Swan, and in today's show, that beautiful, glamorous lady you can see beside me, if you're watching the show on video, is Jessica Edgerton. Jessica Edgerton is the Executive Vice President and Corporate Counsel. Very fancy titles here, Jessica. We're going to get into all of this stuff today with LeadingRE. Now, the full Sunday name, Leading Real Estate Companies of the World. Oh, yes, this is someone very well connected and is in a prime position to chat to us about all things to do with real estate. Jessica, hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. Thank you so much. My titles actually just got fancier.
Oh, you beauty. Tell me more.
Last week I got promoted. I'm like queen, princess, goddess. It's actually Chief Legal Counsel, but
Oh, fantastic. That's tremendous.
thank
Absolutely.
you.
You must be proud of that.
I am proud of that.
Yeah.
I love working for my company and my team, and it's a huge honor to have a C now in front of my name.
Ah, that's fantastic. Congratulations to you.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just thinking, what a rise from rags to riches, because what the listeners don't know is just before we started recording, I was hearing about all sorts of backgrounds from the country of Wales over here in the UK and all sorts of things in your ancestry.
All
So
from 23andMe. I am solidly US Midwestern, but my DNA continues to pop up in interesting ways.
absolutely fantastic. It's great. It just shows it's amazing how life journeys can take us. It really does. And you know something, let's touch upon that because here we are. We're going to chat about LeadingRE. We're going to chat about real estate in general, etc. itself. But Jessica, what's the story of Jessica? What twists and turns through your career, through your journey, brought you to where you are now with LeadingRE?
Well, to start my journey, because it influenced everything else, I'm going to actually start when I'm 5 years old.
Oh,
So buckle up.
right.
I was a government brat. So I was raised outside of the States.
Yeah.
I left Indiana. I was on a little farm in Indiana with my parents, raising organic vegetables. And we left. My dad got a job with USAID. We went to Kenya, then the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua. I ended up teaching high school after college for a couple of years in Nicaragua, and then decided I wanted to be an international journalist and went and got my master's degree in journalism. And you said really start back from the beginning. So here we go.
This is amazing.
But one of the revelations I had in journalism school was I took a First Amendment law class over at the law school at Indiana University, and parts of my brain that I didn't even know existed opened up, and I fell in love with the way that it made me think. I loved it. I loved the puzzles of it. I loved the potential to really make big change. And so I went ahead and got my law degree and went and practiced for a couple of years in Boston, came back to Chicago, and was doing the sort of mid-sized firm thing, which was grueling. I also had this vision of being a litigator, the drama, the TV show images of, and had a ton of fun with it in law school. I did trial team and did really well with trial team, and I loved the puzzle aspect of it. And then I got out into the real world, and it was like, oh my God, everybody's being so irrational and mean to one another. I didn't realize that this was somehow part of it. And so started, I was at a great firm. They said, try corporate. And loved that element because that was all about preventing fighting. And as many people do, ended up going in-house, have started out in real estate because I joined a appraisal management firm. This was in, by the way, 2008, which for anyone in real estate is a monumental number, right? So there was a couple years, worked for a valiant entrepreneur during those 2 years, but as was the case with many real estate related businesses during that time, realized that that was probably something that I needed to start looking around for. One of my best friends is a venture capitalist, and she was at the time heading up the venture capital wing of the National Association of Realtors. She knew that there was some movement in the legal department over there. Somebody was retiring. And she said, why don't you come over and interview? And since then, I've been in the association and member-based world. I worked at NAR for about 5 years, loved it. Incredible team, incredible colleagues, amazing members. And then now I'm finally at LeadingRE. There was Pam O'Connor, who was the CEO at the time, and just one of the luminaries in our industry. She still does consulting work. She's still a dear friend. She was retiring. Paul Boomsma, our current CEO, was the COO and was taking the helm. And they needed somebody to sort of help ensure that no pieces got dropped during that transition. Constance, that we're big investors in Modern Ventures, which is Constance's new. It's 10 years old now. Venture company, and Constance said, "You know what? I got something new for you. Come talk to Paul and Pam." And I did. And it was like, oh my God, this is the next step in my journey. I love working. I mean, this is so LeadingRE is just an incredible company. I've come home now. It's so that's it. I mean,
that is amazing.
There's my journey, 5 to 48.
Wow, and what a journey, what an amazing journey. All that, the jet setting, seeing the different countries, different cultures, different ways of business.
It was mostly economy class, but yes, we can call it jet setting.
Yeah, let's brush it up. We've got to match that chief title that you've got now.
There we go. Now I can start getting all fancy.
Absolutely incredible. I love that. And this is actually a big reason why I love these interviews, because you get to find so many amazing life journeys, so many amazing life stories, and we can all learn from each other. We can all pass on things to each other. And I'm just wondering, you are where you are now, and you're looking back, and you can see how the dots have joined, and you can see this conversation led to that, and then that conversation led to that, and so on and so forth. But at the start, it's kind of hard to see ahead, especially for young people, especially for young women. You're an amazing inspiration for them around the world. What advice would you give? What pointers? Is it about finding a passion? Is it about following your gut or your instinct? Is it about saying yes all the time? We hear all of these cliches. Is there anything, when you now look back, that you would think, maybe that would be a little tip for the top?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was thinking that I was expected to know it all. And I had so much fear and insecurity around what I didn't know, and was very afraid to open up to my leadership, to my superiors about that. And so as I talk to my, especially my younger direct reports now, one of the first things I say is, we do not expect you to know anything. I expect you to be curious. So if you come into my office and I give you an assignment and you think you get it, and I say, all right, do you understand what I just said? Do you understand your mission? Do you understand what the end result? Yes, I fully understand. I get it. And you walk out of that office. One of the things a lot of people say is, I expect you to know it, so I'm going to ask you, and then you need to go do it. That is not the way I approach things. If you sit down at your desk and you start confidently going about things and you realize, oh my God, I just told her I understood it completely. I have no freaking idea what I'm doing. You turn around and you come back. And then if I ask you again, you understand it, and you go back and you start, and you still don't get it, turn back around and come back in. I don't care how many times that cycle happens. I don't know is always the right answer if it's true. And just feel completely comfortable in screwing up. I mean, I think that's one of the leaders' jobs, especially for young folks, especially for people who are entering the workforce, or people who are transitioning from one position to another, including up the ladder, right? Make space for mistakes, create a safe space, create those padded walls for your direct reports to really just make a disaster. I mean, make sure that they have that space. And they don't literally set fire to the company. They don't literally, get us sued for $1 billion.
Yeah.
But it's up to the leader to create those safe spaces to ensure that people can just royally screw. I wish I'd had that.
Tremendous. Yeah, exactly. That's so powerful. And there's so many elements here that I love. So someone like you actually being open and honest enough to talk about how you felt at the start, being vulnerable. Just, I really didn't know, and I had anxiety and I had problems, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and oh my goodness, that's great for a lot of people to see and hear, because they would look at you now with, oh, she's up the top, she's on a pedestal, she's perfect, I'm not her. No, Jessica, it turns out, is actually human, and she's actually went through her own journey, and she's actually made mistakes that she's
and I still screw up.
Yes, exactly.
I still screw up.
Yes.
What I do now, though, is I ensure that if I'm entering a space where I don't understand something or I'm learning, I get my team around me. That's the padded, that when you're a leader, that's the job that you have. You create your own padding. You surround. No leader is going to be 100% perfect. No human is going to be 100% perfect. The way leaders succeed is by recognizing, wow, I am really bad at whatever it is, filing my expense reports. I mean, it doesn't matter what that's my, if Sammy's listening, she's like, yep, that's me. Right.
Oh, fantastic.
But I have a team, I have a support team, and I have a leadership team around me that allows me this space to use them as sounding boards. Yes, and we all do that together. It's one of the reasons I love my company and I love my leadership team. We work together and we all know each other's soft spots. We all know each other's strong suits. And together, we feel pretty darn invincible.
Yeah, exactly. Together, that's right. Together as a team. I'm not completely invincible on my own, but my team, our team, all together, all our soft spots are covered by each other, and we lift each other up. That's tremendous. I'll tell you, the words that you said that really lit me up was curiosity. I mean, if we could share that as much as possible with people, having that curiosity about them. It's almost like a childlike level. We were chatting about kids just before we started recording. That if we could capture and keep that, instead of becoming these adults that are afraid to be curious or are afraid to say the phrase that you said, I don't know. Be curious, actually dig into that, lean into that. I think things would be a lot better and a lot easier.
100%. I mean, the world still has so much mystery. There is so much to learn. It's have fun with it, right? Curiosity opens the door for learning on a new level. Tremendous. Now, folks are listening in just now. Wait a minute. Did Richard and then Jessica say something? LeadingRE? What's that again? So, explained the full Sunday name earlier. But let me throw a couple of things at you folks listening. We're talking about a company with offices in London, in Chicago, in Singapore. We're talking about a global network of the top independent real estate firms, right? That's why this lady knows real estate. We're talking 550 companies. We're talking 70 countries that have over, I think it is over now, 136,000 sales associates. This is the kind of level that we're talking about today on This Week in Property, and I absolutely love it. How do you explain LeadingRE, Jessica? When you're out there and it's the cocktail party chat, LeadingRE, what's that? What comes out of your mouth next? I mean, you did a really good job of framing it up, but what makes it unique, I think, is truly the quality of these firms. These are the most elite firms in the world. We have about an 80% rejection rate of applicants. So most of the people who come, we're always happy to talk to firms and companies, but the standards for becoming part of the LeadingRE network are extremely stringent. And part of the rationale for that is we are a business-to-business referral network, among many other things. And one of the reasons that we are so successful with that is when a client refers or when one of our agents refers a client within our network, they have full assurance that the agent on the other side is going to take perfect care of them.
Mm.
And if we relaxed our standards, then all of a sudden it becomes like any other referral network. We also have an extremely powerful luxury arm that offers elite marketing services for luxury properties. We do a bunch of learning and development, which is one of my favorite areas. I oversee our learning and development, marketing materials across the board. So but my favorite part of our network is actually our events. We hold some of the most elegant and beneficial networking events in the real estate world, and they're also a ton of fun. So, we actually have our global symposium coming up next week in Dubai.
Fantastic.
And so some of our top global network come together and do business and have cocktails, and it's wonderful. So there's a friendship element across the network as well that's extremely unique.
I love that. And you know, while you're chatting, you keep dropping these little bombs, these little words. And the first one I said, curiosity, I love that. The one I picked up there was fun, because when people think about networking events these days, you know, business, oh my goodness, please let the ground swallow me up whole. I can just see a boring night to brushing up shoulder to shoulder with people. Oh my goodness, terrible chat, so on and so forth. There's no point going. Why would I go? You throw in the word fun. That's a completely different way of looking at it. I love that. What is it in your head that kind of makes an event, makes networking easier for people?
I think it is the friendship element. I think that it is the okay, we're going to tie all our words together here, Richard. It's the curiosity element.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that our folks are so successful is that it is a curious network. It's a network that's always hungry to know more. And especially with the market doing what it's doing right now globally, really, I mean, across the board, you have to stay curious. You have to be thinking about what's next. Okay, we're dealing with a very challenging market right now. What can I do? Who do I talk to? What ideas can I source from my network? What is my network? Oh, right. I'm a member of Leading Real Estate, the top professionals in the world. Let me go and talk to them. And so one of the reasons that I think that I say fun, it is fun. I mean, literally last year we had people falling off of poles at a nightclub. Okay, so they were looking a little rough the next day when they came into the learning meetings the next day. But beyond that, like sort of traditional outrageous fun, these are folks who really enjoy learning. And so staying afloat is one thing. That's not what our folks do. They don't stay afloat, right? They reach the next level, they innovate, and the best innovation, just like I was talking about with the leadership team, comes from not from, you know, one person, but it's very often sort of the ideas that come from networking with the best.
Yeah, tremendous. That's a much better way of doing business. I don't know why we sometimes trap ourselves in these, you know, well, this is the way it's always been done. Yeah, so what? Let's do it differently. Let's make business fun. Let's connect better. Let's have friendships, not just, you know, business collaborations. It's not all about the money. Let's actually live our lives properly. I love that.
Right.
Well done. Well done. You mentioned the luxury places, the luxury apartments. I have to confess, I was browsing and shopping through the website earlier. Oh my goodness, there's so many fantastic properties there. I was trying to keep the property investor inside me alive, because I was moving over to someone who just wanted to splash out on something. You've got some amazing places that are on market at the moment, don't you?
They're gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous. It's I'm sure this is a family program, but I mean, there's a phrase, at least in the States, real estate porn. And it is, you know, people go to our website, consumers go to our website to just browse, and it's beautifully put together. Some of the most gorgeous properties in the world. So it's a ton of fun.
Tremendous.
That's the fantasy element, as well as our luxury consumers who are going to say, all right, I need a place in Cyprus. Let's see what's available with luxury portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the great thing about LeadingRE. It's the global network. You've actually got businesses, people, experts spread everywhere. So for clients who are, looking to move lock, stock, and barrel to completely the other side of the world, you can help with that kind of thing, can't you?
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
not just about sort of going to the website and finding it. We also have, as I already said, you will have an expert on the other side. If you have, if you're working with a high net worth client in Chicago, they've expressed interest in a, second or third home in, name the country, chances are we know the best person for you. And we know exactly what you're going to be looking for in an agent, and we'll be able to connect you.
Tremendous. And with your overview of that global network, etc., what's your opinions on the market at the moment? Are there, hotspot countries that you just see as just prime for investment at the moment? Are you seeing particular areas struggling a bit more than others? Do you see a rosy future? Are you one of the people talking about a giant crash is coming again? Because you mentioned that 2008 number a while ago, and we all know about it. What's your opinions at the moment?
I mean, we could have a whole other conversation about golden visa programs. Two of the places that have, fantastic benefits when it comes to tax and real estate, et cetera, are actually where we will be holding Global Symposium. Dubai has an amazing market. Portugal is fantastic. I mean, there are spots all over the world that have really, really powerful golden visa programs, amazing tax benefits for first, second, third homes, folks who are going to be investing either as business people or even in just a piece of real estate property. I am not everything is going to crash. And I know that's hard to think about right now. We are all around the world in different places in the cycle, right? Speaking just sort of on the US side of things, we have, a very, very tough inventory market right now. I know inventory across the board is hard. Part of that, though, is because our Federal Reserve has been engaging in a real strong tightening campaign for the last 18 months. We are now, my prediction, and I actually have a case of extremely fine beer on the line on this, is that they are not going to raise rates. That's a bet with my CFO. They are not going to raise rates again before the end of the year. It's a little touch and go. I think I'm right for September. There may be another hike sometime, but the prediction is that we are going to start seeing maybe some easing coming in May of 2024. After that, the second half of 2024 for the US is, I believe, going to really, we're gonna start seeing inventory loosening up because folks just don't want to move right now. I don't want to move, I mean, I've got a fantastic rate. So that's the US. My prediction is second half of 2024, we're going to start getting back to some regular inventory. Right now, we're about 1 million short for the end of 2020. Okay. Wow. But also, if you look at the last 4 years with the insane 2020, 2021 numbers, right? Where just things were through the roof. If you take the average of those 4 years and you compare them to like 2019, you're actually at about the same number of transactions. So these last 4 years have just been wild, right? It was, we front loaded. So we're tight now because we sold all of that. We did all the transactions in the, 2020, 2021. Second half, we're good. I mean, Europe, and I don't mean to amalgamate all of Europe, but overall, you guys are a little bit behind us in terms of that pattern, right? So I know and you've got a whole bunch of other factors. Obviously, there's the horrific war going on. There's, your relationship with China is much tighter than ours. Mexico and the US, that's our main trade partner right now. You guys are still very tied into China, which is hard because they just opened back up practically. So they're dealing with massive real estate issues with Evergrande and all the rest of those huge collapses. So that trade tie is difficult right now. Plus, you guys do a bunch of arms. You do adjustable rates. And so there's so much pain right now. I mean, your consumers are feeling really heavy right now. Really, really looking to save. Same thing in China. I mean, there is so much just nervousness from consumers right now. But I do think, particularly in Europe, I think that, you know, rates will start to come down. I don't know when. There's so much uncertainty around the war. China is dragging you guys down a little bit in terms of perhaps staying in this pit a little longer. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I know in the US, I feel with confidence we're not going to see any sort of big crash. And I'm certainly hoping and expecting the same with Europe, but it's going to stay painful for a while.
Yeah,
that's my prediction.
Yeah, I like it, and I hope that beer is protected. I hope you
Me
don't
too.
lose out.
Me too.
That's a good investment we want to keep a hold of. Keep liquid in all forms.
That's right. We all got to stay hydrated through this, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Oh, fantastic. Now, you mentioned learning, training is a thing that you're just massively behind. Why is that? What is it about keeping educated, keeping learning, keeping trained, keeping your skills up? What about that inspires you?
We are in constant motion. Our market is constant motion. Our industry is in constant motion. Technology behind us, all of our back office stuff. Our consumers are constantly changing. I mean, we need to prepare ourselves for Gen Z, right? I'm still figuring out my remote control. So, you know, we really have to stay learning if we're going to stay on top of things. And it's again that curiosity element, right? If we are not curious in this world, we stagnate. Things get dark, things get gloomy, things get boring. I do not, if I start to feel bored, that is the wake up call to start learning, right? I encourage everyone to keep a book going at all times. Use your 5 minutes. Don't doom scroll. We're so good at doom scrolling these days. Just take 5 minutes to find a wonderful podcast, a wonderful new podcast. Find, a 5-minute learning program. I love going on LinkedIn even and just following as many luminaries as you can, especially those that have video clips. If you're sitting waiting, for a client, if you're waiting at school to pick up your kid, watch a 5-minute video. You will be inspired multiple times a day. Pick up the phone and call, an old friend and ask them what's going on in their market. There are so many sources for staying curious. And I think curiosity is one of the key ways to stay joyful in the world. And how else do you do that from learning other than learning?
Totally agree with that. You're right. And it's funny, it's a blessing and a curse. We have all these things around us, all of these platforms, all of these social media tools, videos endlessly getting produced, etc. But you're right. We need to master them. We need to choose, what am I going to do today? Am I going to do the doom scrolling, as you correctly said, or am I going to deliberately pick the person that I want to hear from and get some inspiration from, some knowledge from? As long as we take control of it, those tools can be absolutely fantastic for us.
Absolutely. You have to curate it. I mean, start there, right? If you've got 4 different social media platforms, you learn, you use for your business, you use to keep in touch with your friends, you need to be aware of, making rules for yourself. Make boxes around those, or else you just get sucked into the vortex.
Yeah, totally agree. Now, jumping back to LeadingRE then, looking back on the journey that you've had with them, what's been the biggest challenges that you've found along the way, the biggest problems that you've had to solve, etc.?
I mean, I think one of the challenges is always just ensuring that we're ahead of the market. We are an elite group. It is up to us to ensure that we are providing our elite members with the tools and the resources that they need, not just to, like I said before, stay afloat. That's not what we do, but to stay one step ahead. And so it's having that, visionary mentality. And we need to ensure that all of us, curiosity is the name of the game, stay curious about what's next. If we're not taking those risks and saying, here's what I believe is going to happen next, and here is what I believe we need to be doing or offering in order to make sure that our folks are out ahead of the pack where they belong, you need to take serious risks. And just like I said I talk to my direct reports about, you need to be comfortable with failure. There will always be those things that we say, we're going to do this, we're getting ahead of the curve, we need to devote resources. Every once in a while, there will be that moment where you're like, oh my God, we're going to have to tell the board this one didn't work, right? It's rare, but it happens. And it's going back to my, the sort of early days of counseling myself, now, then talking to the team about, yeah, there is a real risk that this might not be a winner, but what else are we going to do? We've vetted it, we've talked through it, and we have to take this risk. And 9 times out of 10, it's a glorious winner. And every once in a while, it's like, all right, let's look back. Let's do the postmortem. What do we learn from this experience in terms of how we do better? The best way to learn, and I tell my kids this all the time, is failure, right? So it's really getting comfortable with uncertainty, and it's getting comfortable with knowing that things can sometimes go south. Always have a contingency plan.
Yes, correct. You're trying to, there is risk. You're trying to mitigate that risk as much as possible, but there's always going to be lessons. No matter how good it goes or how bad it goes, there's always going to be lessons for moving on to your next step. Tremendous. Right. Absolutely tremendous. And if those have been some of the challenges, try to stay ahead, try to stay on top of things and run those experiments and stuff, what satisfactions do you have? What little milestones or little moments throughout that path, throughout that journey, do you look back on and think, yeah, that was great. It was great we did that, or we reached that point, or whatever. What comes to mind?
I mean, so both, I have the legal hat and I have the learning hat. I love the legal hat. I love the risk management part, but that's all about, let's make sure certain things don't happen, right? Let's prevent things from happening over on the legal side. If there's no news, that's good news. Really, the biggest joys I get are from the learning. And over the last few years, we've rolled out so many new learning programs. We have the Risky Minute, which is a 5-minute update that we do every month on risk management topics for agents. Like, here's how not to get sued, guys. For our brokers, we do broker facing ones. We have a Fair Housing Minute where we talk about, handling fair housing issues. We have our webinar weeks, which are just thousands and thousands. This last time we had over close to 13,000 registrations across our programs for that. So just these enormously, and that's a benefit. That's free. It is absolutely free, exclusively to our members. We've rolled out so much. We have a podcast. I do the podcast thing too. It's super fun. Fantastic. I love it. It's so fun.
Brilliant. Let's get a plug in. So what should people search for to find the podcast?
It's called $1 Million Question: Real Estate, Real Answers.
Brilliant. There you go. Make sure you're subscribed to that, folks. Good on you. So didn't mean to interrupt you there. Carry on.
Thank you. So it's all of these programs. Oh, we do an economic update where I do a monthly interview with Dr. Marcy Russell, who is just one of the most incredible economic experts in our industry. So it's all of this. Those are my biggest sort of day-to-days. My most valuable moments, though, always come at our events, at our in-person events, where I get to be on the ground learning from thousands of the top real estate experts and professionals and leaders in the world. That's where I do my biggest learning. There is just, I get to work with hundreds and hundreds of people who are truly more knowledgeable put together than any club, any real estate school, any university, any master's degree. It's just, I love my people.
Yeah, you love your people, you love your team, you love your people. That's fantastic. I love that. You've got a great environment that you've created around you. It's absolutely tremendous. If someone was looking bravely to try and not get rejected, to try and join, to be, one of the agencies listening in just now, oh, I want to be in that group, that hallowed group with Jessica. What should they do? Should they go to the website that we've got linked underneath the show? Should they do something
Start
else?
with the website. Yep.
Right,
There's
right,
there's an application that you can fill out. We
right,
have an amazing group of membership services folks. So somebody will reach out from you there.
right.
And we're always happy to talk to members and people in the community. So
Right.
don't fear failure. Don't fear
Don't
rejection.
fear
That's
it.
my word of advice.
That's it. Good on you. Fantastic. Now, I don't want to be respectful of your time, just to kind of look ahead into the future. Where do you see the future? Not for the market, because we discussed that earlier, but for LeadingRE, for things moving forward. Do you have plans bubbling away or wish lists that you have in your head that you really want to achieve?
I mean, we want to keep doing what we're doing, but better. And one of the areas that I'm excited, Christy, who is our president of Global, has just done a magnificent job of continuing to expand our global reach. We are in new countries every year. We are constantly bringing in the global community. And when you talk about learning from your peers, this is one of the most exciting things, because it's not just about learning from, different regional markets. It's literally every facet of the world. So one of the things that gets me the most excited is watching us grow into one of the most powerful global networks in the history of real estate. That is where true innovation is going to come. So I'm excited for the coming together itself, but I also am always amazed at our meetings when global folks get together to hear how different ideas, different ways of practicing real estate from around the world then get cross-pollinated. So all of a sudden you have folks who are, learning how real estate is done in Costa Rica, talking to somebody who is practicing real estate in France. And they're like, oh my God, I never thought about that. That's fabulous. We are literally bringing ideas from one side of the globe to another and improving the way the consumers experience their real estate journey, improving the way our sales associates experience their profession. This sounds so grandiose. And I started out being like, I'm chief legal officer. So I'm just like,
let's roll with it.
The braggy guest. But we are taking real estate, in my mind, to the next global level because we are a network of truly curious people. And it's changing the way real estate is experienced around the world.
And that's the way it should be done. Yes, exactly. Good on you. We should have grandiose goals. Let's chase them. Let's shake things up. Let's go for it and have fun, have curiosity, have all of it. And then we rise the whole tide. All the boats rise with that tide. And it'll be fantastic for everyone to experience. Good on you. Last question. We're going to bring it back to the personal, bring you back to your story. You, Jessica, looking back on your life, on these amazing twists and turns and journeys and collaborations with so many people and so many teams, what have you learned about yourself, do you think?
I have learned, it's sort of bringing it back to what I said at the beginning, but I've learned how important it is to be vulnerable and how important it is to stay tender, to stay truly kind, to stay really open to other people's vulnerabilities. I mean, in the end, we're just a bunch of humans bumbling around trying to do as best we can and live good lives and have happy homes. And fundamentally, that's what our industry is about as well, right? It's about bringing people home. And if you come armored up, if you come ready to do battle, if you come with sort of this mentality of, I need to win at all costs, nobody's going to win. And so I think there are sort of three keys that I try to keep in mind, which is strong spine, right? Clear mind, but always lead with an open heart. Always. You can have as much grit in your spine as you want. That doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice that open heart. So always lead with that.
Beautiful. A beautiful answer from a beautiful soul. Fantastic. What a perfect way to end that show. That was tremendous. everyone who's watching, listening in, I know you've loved it. I know you've enjoyed the wisdoms that have popped out from this Chief Legal Counsel. I'm going to get that in as many times as possible. Make sure, go into the show notes whenever it's safe to do so. Click on the links, follow Jessica, reach out to LeadingRE. Forget that 8% rejection rate. Go for it, chase it, try your best with an application. You just might get there. And even if you don't, you'll learn another lesson along the way. But Jessica, for your time today on This Week in Property, thank you so much.
Richard, thank you. It's been an absolute honor and a ton of fun. Thank you so much for having me on the show.